really the only way for these children to have a pathway out of poverty and the exploitation that was around them. And she started paying for scholarships for some students to attend private schools in Monrovia, children who were out of school, out of her own pocket. As she was sharing that story with people back home, she started receiving donations and set up a 501c3 to more formally support these children there. And the organization started to grow. As it did, she had some serious doubts about whether she could run a nonprofit, particularly in such a difficult context like Liberia. And from that, the name More Than Me came, because of the sense that this was not about her, it was more than about her, and it was about the opportunity for these children. So since then, More Than Me has grown significantly. It became an official organization, official NGO in Liberia in the U.S. in 2009. And today the program focuses on West Point, which is one particular slum community in Liberia. West Point is a slum in Monrovia where many people settled after the war. You had a lot of people coming into the capital for protection during the war. And when it ended, they really had nothing to go back to. In particular, child soldiers, orphans, ex-combatants, they really settled into this area. And it has about 75,000 people now, which actually makes it one of the largest cities in Liberia by population. And as you can see, it's on this tiny sandy peninsula. Everyone's crowded in there, and there's no sanitation, no water, etc. So, More Than Me is focused on West Point, said another shot from that community, because it's an area that's really been underserved by the government and the NGOs that are in the country already. It's also seen, even by other Liberians who are living in slum communities or who are low income, as being a lost cause. And there's a particularly large group of vulnerable children there. And part of what makes them so vulnerable is that these children are often away from their families. They came there during the war like Grace did, or they were sent there by a family member thinking that they would be able to have better opportunities within the capital. And they also have high financial pressure. Monrovia is actually a very expensive city, as is West Point. You have to pay for everything from housing to clean water. And children who are taken in by guardians or on their own are expected to earn an income. And basically the only way they can do that is by selling on the street. Everything from oranges to cold water to peanuts. These goods are out there for about 12 hours a day at least, early in the morning to late at night. And the only real alternative to that for girls is sex work, which a lot of them are pushed into because it's much easier to earn a greater deal of money doing that as opposed to selling, especially from a young age. So these are the factors that made West Point such a hotspot and where we decided to focus on as an organization. It also allowed us to really focus our impact on one particular community and build greater bonds with that community. We have here pictured Macintosh Johnson, who's our program coordinator. He's a West Point native, grew up somewhere outside the city, and was a child soldier during the war, came into West Point, went to school, and started working with some NGOs that were in Monrovia, and later met Katie, and was interested in helping her to really focus working on West Point. And he's become a community leader and really been critical for us to be able to work there. So under Mac and Katie's leadership, More Than Me has evolved to focus on serving girls in West Point who are at risk of sexual exploitation and these pressures to enter sex work and are out of school. And this, again, started with the scholarships that Katie was giving to students individually. But they later added an after-school program. These are some students who are in the former after-school program. As a way to try to keep the girls off the street after school. Because schooling only goes from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day. And then these girls were going right back into the situations they were coming from. So to try and support them academically and give them a safe place, the organization started operating this enrichment program, which included a meal every day, often the only meal they would have, tutoring, and arts and sports classes. So over the course of a couple of years, we were running this program, starting to grow, more students were joining, but Katie and Macintosh were visiting the schools that these girls were in, the private schools that we were paying scholarships for, and realized they weren't making any gains academically. everything from teachers and administrators beating students, which is not uncommon, teachers soliciting students for sex, again, not uncommon throughout Liberian schools, and just issues like teachers not showing up, lack of resources, etc. And came to the conclusion that if they wanted this to be a worthwhile investment, we were going to have to open our own school. So that became the focus for the organization and the goal it started working towards. And in 2012, More Than Me won $1 million from the Chase American Giving Awards, which made this more of a potential reality. And the President Ellen Johnson, donated the building to us about 6 months later in downtown Monrovia. And through the support of some corporations working out of Monrovia, we were able to renovate that building and open a school, which is pictured there at the bottom, in September. And so today, More Than Me directly provides education and services to 120 girls from West Point, ranging in age from 5 to 17. And we have 5 classes, 2 kindergartens, 2 first grades, a second grade, and a third and fourth grade. And the school focuses on math and English for both rigor and targeted remediation. As I was saying with the introduction of some of the girls, most of these children are years below grade level. They're overage for their grade, both those who had previously been in some kind of school or who had itinerant schooling or no schooling. And that's anywhere from 1 year to 8 years behind. So classes have mixed ages, but girls are grouped by both ability level and